Golden light filled the restaurant. Candles flickered on white tablecloths like captured stars. Natalie touched the pearl necklace at her throat, the one David had given her on their first anniversary. 7 years of marriage. 7 years that were supposed to mean something. She had chosen the emerald dress carefully. The reservation at Meridian had taken weeks to secure. Across from her, David scrolled through his phone, his jaw tight, his eyes distant. David. Her voice was soft. Can we talk? Really talk? He looked up, distracted. About what? Everything's fine. But everything wasn't fine. The late nights. The hushed phone calls. The way he flinched when she reached for him. She had convinced herself it was work stress, that marriages go through rough patches, that love required patience. I need to use the restroom. He stood without waiting for her response. The phone stayed on the table. When it lit up, Natalie's breath caught. The message preview glowed in the candlelight. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same hotel room. I love you. Jennifer. Her hands moved without thought. His password was their wedding date. The irony burned. She opened the messages and months of conversation sprawled before her. Intimate words. Photos that made her stomach turn. Evidence of a life he had built in the shadows of their marriage. When David returned, she was standing with her purse in hand. His face shifted from confusion to panic. Natalie, wait. How long? I don't know what you. She held up his phone. How long have you been sleeping with Jennifer? The restaurant went silent. Color drained from his face. 6 months, he whispered. But it's not what you think. Natalie laughed, bitter and sharp. 6 months. Our anniversary trip to the mountains. You were thinking about her. Christmas with my family. You were texting her. I do love you. I just got confused. It means everything. She placed the phone between them like evidence. It means I wasted 7 years on someone who couldn't even respect me enough to end things honestly. She walked out with her head high, leaving whispers and a husband who finally understood what he had lost. In her car, silence wrapped around her. No tears came. Just the sound of her own breathing and the knowledge that the woman who had walked into that restaurant no longer existed. 2 weeks later, Natalie stood on the deck of a small cottage overlooking the ocean. Salt air filled her lungs. Waves crashed against rocks below, steady and relentless. Harborview was 3 hours from everything she had known. Her sister Rebecca owned the cottage and had insisted she come. The divorce papers were filed. The apartment packed. Her life divided into boxes and legal documents. She had taken a leave from the marketing firm. She needed to remember who she was without David, without the identity she had wrapped around being his wife. The town was small. The bakery remembered your order after 2 visits. The locals nodded in greeting but didn't pry. Natalie walked the beach every morning, letting the wind tangle her hair, feeling the sun burn away the numbness. You need to get out, Rebecca said one Saturday morning. The Harbor Festival is today. Live music. Food. People. I'm not ready for people. You're hiding. There's a difference between healing and running. Natalie went to prove her sister wrong. The waterfront was alive with color. Vendor tents lined the marina. Children ran with balloons. Music drifted from a small stage where a local band played something jazzy and warm. Under a white tent, a charity auction was underway. Proceeds for the Children's Hospital. Natalie found herself drawn to a painting of the lighthouse, solitary and strong against a stormy sky. She bid. Once. Twice. Then a voice behind her, deep and certain. 5,000. She turned. A man stood a few feet away, tall with dark hair touched silver at the temples. He wore jeans and a white linen shirt, casual but commanding. His eyes were striking blue, the kind that seemed to see through pretense. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he said with a slight smile. "But that painting belongs in my foundation's collection." "Your foundation?" Natalie raised an eyebrow. "The Harborview Children's Foundation. We're hosting this event." Understanding dawned. Julian Torres. The billionaire who had made his fortune in technology and now dedicated his life to charity. Rebecca had mentioned him once. The town's quiet benefactor. Then why auction it at all? Natalie asked. To see who values it enough to fight for it. His gaze held hers. Most people walk away too easily. Something in his words felt personal. Intentional. "I'm not most people," she said. 10,000. He didn't break eye contact. The tent had gone quiet. People watching. Natalie felt her pulse quicken, not from anger but from something else entirely. 15. Julian's smile widened. 25. "And I'll make you a deal. Let me buy you coffee to apologize for the aggressive bidding. The painting goes to the foundation either way. That's not much of a deal for me. It is if you're curious why a stranger is willing to spend $25,000 just to talk to you." Natalie's breath caught. There was something dangerous in his directness. Something that made her want to run and stay in equal measure. "One coffee," she said. "One coffee," he agreed. As the auctioneer declared Julian the winner, he leaned closer. Close enough that she could smell cedar and something darker, like smoke from a distant fire. "Fair warning," he said quietly. "I don't do anything halfway. Not business. Not charity." He paused. "Not people." Natalie's heart hammered in her chest. She had come to Harborview to escape. To heal. To be alone. But Julian Torres looked at her like she was the most interesting person in the world. And God help her, she wanted to know why. The coffee shop overlooked the harbor. Sailboats drifted in the distance. Julian ordered an espresso. Natalie, a latte she didn't touch. "You're not from here," he said. "Not a question. Is it that obvious? You look at the ocean like you're seeing it for the first time. Locals take it for granted." He studied her. "You're running from something." Natalie's defenses rose. "That's presumptuous. It's observant. I know the look. I wore it myself once." Julian leaned back. 3 years ago, I left San Francisco. Sold my company. Walked away from everything. Why? Because I built an empire and lost the only person who mattered. His voice was steady but his eyes held old pain. My wife, Elena. Cancer. She wanted me to slow down, to live instead of work. I kept saying later. After this deal. After this launch. He paused. There was no later. The rawness in his words made Natalie's chest tight. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. It was my fault. He met her gaze. I came here to do something that mattered. To honor her memory by actually helping people instead of just making money. He tilted his head. Now tell me what you're running from. Natalie wanted to deflect. To keep her pain private. But something in Julian's honesty demanded the same from her. My husband. 7 years of marriage. I found out on our anniversary he'd been having an affair for 6 months. The words came easier than she expected. I thought I knew him. Thought I knew us. I was wrong about everything. Did you love him? Yes. Or I loved who I thought he was. That's not the same thing, Julian said quietly. Weeks passed. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became walks along the beach. Julian was unlike anyone Natalie had known. He listened. Really listened. He talked about his foundation, about the children they helped, about building something that mattered more than profit. One night, under stars so bright they hurt, Julian took her hand. "I need to tell you something," he said. "And you're going to hate me for it." Natalie's stomach dropped. "What?" "I knew who you were before the auction. Rebecca is on my foundation's board. She mentioned you were staying here. Mentioned what you were going through." He swallowed hard. "I saw you at the festival and asked her to point you out." The bidding war? The coffee? It wasn't chance. Natalie pulled her hand away. "You manipulated me. I wanted to meet you. And yes, I engineered a way to do it." His voice was raw. "But everything after? Every conversation, every moment? That's been real. How do I know that? How do I trust anything you say?" Betrayal burned fresh and sharp. "I just escaped one liar. I won't walk into another. Because I'm telling you the truth now when I could have kept lying." Julian's eyes were fierce. "I'm telling you because what's happening between us matters more than my pride." Natalie stood, shaking. "I need space. Natalie, please. You knew how fragile I was. You knew I was broken. And you used that." Tears blurred her vision. "I thought you were different." She walked away, leaving Julian standing alone on the beach. But that night, unable to sleep, she found herself on her laptop. Searching. Learning. The Harborview Children's Foundation had saved hundreds of families. Medical bills paid. Housing provided. Futures restored. Every article mentioned Julian's relentless dedication. His personal donations that kept the foundation running. And then she found it. A video from a fundraiser 2 years ago. Julian speaking about Elena. "She taught me that success isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the lives you touch. The people you love. The moments you don't take for granted." His voice broke. "I lost her because I forgot that. I won't make that mistake again." Natalie closed the laptop. Her hands trembled. Julian had lied about how they met. But everything else? The grief. The guilt. The desperate need to matter. That was real. She grabbed her coat and ran. Julian answered his door in jeans and a t-shirt, hair disheveled. His eyes widened. "Natalie? I watched your speech. About Elena." He looked away. "I meant every word." "I know." She stepped closer. "You lied to me. But you told me the truth when it counted." She touched his face, feeling stubble rough against her palm. "My husband lied for 6 months. You lasted 3 weeks before your conscience broke you. I'm still sorry. So am I, sorry I walked away before hearing you out." Natalie's voice softened. "We're both broken, Julian. Both running from ghosts. Maybe that's why this works." He pulled her close, his forehead against hers. "I'm terrified of losing you. Then don't give me reasons to leave." He kissed her then. Desperate and gentle and full of everything unsaid. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Julian whispered against her lips. "There's something else you need to know. About the foundation. About why I really came to Harborview." Natalie's heart stopped. "What?" "Not here. Tomorrow. I'll show you everything." His eyes held shadows she hadn't seen before. "After that, if you want to walk away, I'll understand." The way he said it made her blood run cold. Julian drove them to the foundation building. Not the public face with its bright waiting rooms and cheerful murals. The administrative offices in the back. His private office. He unlocked a drawer and pulled out a file. His hands shook slightly as he handed it to her. "Read it," he said. "All of it." Natalie opened the folder. Medical records. Court documents. News clippings. Her breath caught as she pieced together the story. Elena Torres had died of ovarian cancer. But the disease had been caught late. Too late. Because a pharmaceutical company had buried research about early detection methods to protect a competing drug's market share. Julian's company had owned a 15% stake in that pharmaceutical firm. "I didn't know," Julian said, his voice hollow. "Not until after she died." Then the whistleblower came forward. The lawsuit started. The truth came out. He looked at Natalie with haunted eyes. "My money helped them bury the research that could have saved her. I profited from her death." Natalie's hand covered her mouth. "Julian. I sold everything. Gave most of it away. Used the rest to build the foundation." He swallowed hard. "But it doesn't change what happened. It doesn't bring her back. It wasn't your fault. You didn't know. Doesn't matter. I should have asked more questions. Should have cared where my money went." His voice cracked. "I built wealth on the backs of people like her. Like all the families we help now." Natalie stood and wrapped her arms around him. He was rigid at first, then collapsed into her embrace. "This is your penance," she whispered. "This foundation. These children. You're spending your life trying to balance the scales. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. Maybe not. But it's everything you have to give." She pulled back to look at him. "You're a good man carrying an impossible weight. How can you say that? How can you look at me and not see a monster?" "Because I see someone who owns his mistakes. Who turned his guilt into purpose." Natalie's eyes were fierce. "You're not the man who profited from death. You're the man who walked away from everything to save lives." Julian kissed her desperately. Gratefully. Like she was absolution he didn't deserve. 2 months passed. They fell into a rhythm. Mornings walking the beach. Afternoons working at the foundation where Natalie had started volunteering in the marketing department. Evenings tangled in each other, building something fragile and real. Then David called. "Natalie. Please don't hang up." Her hand tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" "I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life." His voice was thick with emotion. "Jennifer and I are over. She wasn't you. No one is you. Good for you. I've moved on." "Have you? Really?" David's tone shifted. "Or are you hiding in some beach town pretending you don't still love me?" "I don't love you. I don't even know you." 7 years, Natalie. 7 years doesn't just disappear." He paused. "I'm coming to Harborview. We need to talk face to face." "Don't you dare." But he had already hung up. Natalie told Julian that night. He listened quietly, his jaw tight. "Do you want to see him?" Julian asked. "No. God, no. But part of you wonders if you should. If you owe him closure." Julian's eyes were dark. "If there's still something there." "There isn't. I believe you." He pulled her close. "But I also know how endings work. Sometimes you need to face them to truly let go." 3 days later, David arrived at the cottage. Natalie had insisted Julian stay away. This conversation was hers alone. David looked thinner. Tired. The confident lawyer was gone, replaced by someone desperate and diminished. "You look good," he said. "Happy." "I am. There's someone else." "Not a question." Yes. David flinched. That was fast. Says the man who cheated for 6 months. Natalie's voice was steel. Why are you here? To beg. To grovel. To ask for another chance. He stepped closer. I know I don't deserve it. But Natalie, we built a life together. That has to mean something. It meant everything. Past tense. She looked at him clearly for the first time. Saw him without the rose-colored lens of love. You killed what we had. You don't get to resurrect it because you're lonely. I can change. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't want you to change. I want you to leave. David's face crumpled. Please. I love you. No. You love the idea of me. The comfort. The familiarity. Natalie's voice softened. We weren't good for each other. Not really. We just didn't know how to admit it until you made the choice for both of us. So that's it? 7 years gone. 7 years that taught me what I don't want. What I won't settle for. She opened the door. Goodbye, David. I mean that kindly. I hope you find what you're looking for. But you won't find it with me. After he left, Natalie sat on the deck and cried. Not for David. Not for the marriage. But for the woman she had been, who thought love meant staying small. Who thought partnership meant accepting less. Julian found her there an hour later. He didn't ask questions. Just held her as the sun set over the ocean. I'm free, she whispered. Really, truly free. Good. He kissed her temple. Because I'm about to ask you something that's going to terrify you. She pulled back. What? Move in with me. Not just staying over. Actually move in. Build a life here. Work with the foundation. Be with me. His voice was vulnerable in a way she'd never heard. Choose this. Choose us. Choose yourself. Natalie looked at the man who had found her in pieces and helped her remember how to be whole. Who carried his own ghosts but made room for hers. Who saw her not as broken but as becoming. Yes, she breathed. Yes to all of it. Julian's smile was sunrise breaking through storm clouds. He kissed her deeply, full of promise and hope and the terrifying beauty of starting again. But neither of them saw the figure watching from the road. Dark eyes filled with rage. Hands clenched into fists. David hadn't left town. And he wasn't done fighting. The Foundation Gala was Harborview's event of the year. String lights draped the waterfront pavilion. Donors in evening wear mingled under stars. Natalie wore a navy dress that Julian had chosen, simple and elegant. You're radiant, he whispered, his hand at the small of her back. She was about to respond when she saw him. David stood near the bar in a dark suit, a champagne flute in his hand. He raised it slightly when their eyes met. A toast. A threat. What's he doing here? Julian's voice was tight. I don't know. Fear prickled down Natalie's spine. David approached with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Beautiful event. I made a donation. $50,000. That buys me entry, right? What are you doing? Natalie hissed. Reminding you who I am. What we were. He turned to Julian. You must be the rebound. The billionaire hero who saves broken women. Very noble. Julian's jaw clenched but his voice stayed calm. You need to leave. I don't think I will. See, I did some research on you, Torres. David's smile turned cruel. Elena Torres. Your dead wife. The pharmaceutical scandal. You made millions off people's suffering. He looked at Natalie. Did he tell you that? Or just the sanitized version? Natalie stepped forward. I know everything. And it's none of your business. Isn't it? I'm trying to save you from making another mistake. David's voice rose. People were starting to stare. He's using you. Just like he used his wife's death to build his reputation. It's all performance. Julian moved fast. He grabbed David's arm and steered him toward the exit. You don't know what you're talking about. David jerked free. Don't I? Tell me, Torres. How many times have you done this? Found some wounded woman to absolve you of your guilt? Stop. Natalie's voice cut through the tension. She looked at David with clear eyes. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up and poison what I've built. I'm protecting you. No. You're trying to control me because you can't stand that I'm happy without you. She took Julian's hand. He told me the truth. All of it. The good and the terrible. He gave me the choice to walk away. Her voice broke. That's more than you ever did. David's face twisted. You're choosing him? After everything we had? I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing someone who sees me as a partner, not a possession. Natalie squeezed Julian's hand. I'm choosing love that doesn't come with lies. David took a step toward her. Julian moved between them instantly, protective. Touch her and we're done talking, Julian said quietly. You think you've won? David laughed bitterly. You're living on borrowed time. Both of you. This little fantasy will end when reality sets in. Then let it end. Julian's voice was steel. But it'll end on our terms, not yours. Security arrived then. David allowed himself to be escorted out, but his parting words hung in the air. You'll regret this, Natalie. Both of you will. The gala continued, but the joy was tarnished. Natalie and Julian left early, driving to the lighthouse point where they had first walked together. He's not wrong, Julian said finally. About me using this to absolve guilt. Stop. No. He's not wrong. I did come here to run from what I'd done. To try to balance scales that can't be balanced. He turned to face her. But he's wrong about you. About us. You're not some bandage over my wounds. You're the reason I want to stop bleeding. Natalie's eyes filled with tears. I love you. Completely. Imperfectly. For exactly who you are. Even knowing I'll carry Elena's death forever? That some part of me will always be that man who failed her? Yes. Because some part of me will always be the woman who wasn't enough for David. We're both scarred. Both learning. Both trying. She cupped his face. That's what makes this real. Julian pulled her close, his voice rough against her hair. I need to tell you something. The foundation. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. I've been offered a position leading a national coalition for healthcare reform. Fighting the systems that killed Elena. Actually changing policy, not just helping victims. That's incredible. Why do you sound uncertain? Because it's in Washington. And I won't go without you. He pulled back to look at her. But I also won't ask you to leave if this is where you need to be. Natalie's heart raced. This was the moment. The choice that would define everything. She thought about the woman who had walked out of that restaurant 8 months ago. Shattered. Lost. Afraid. She thought about the woman she was now. Stronger. Clearer. Brave enough to risk her heart again. I'll go with you, she said. Not because I need you. But because I choose you. Every day. In every version of the life we build. Julian's kiss was deep and grateful and full of wonder. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. "We're going to make mistakes," he whispered. "Probably. Hurt each other sometimes. Definitely. But we'll be honest. We'll fight fair. We'll choose each other even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Natalie smiled through tears. "That's the deal." 6 months later, Natalie stood in a small garden in Washington. The wedding was intimate. Just Rebecca, a few friends, colleagues from the foundation. No grand production. No performance. Julian's vows were simple. "I promise to love you as you are. To grow with you. To honor what we're building without forgetting what we've lost. You are my second chance. My redemption. My home." Natalie's voice shook but held firm. "I promise to trust you. To be brave enough to stay when running feels easier. To build something new from the ashes of who we were. You are my freedom. My future. My choice." The kiss was soft and perfect. A beginning, not an ending. Later, dancing under string lights, Julian pulled her close. "Any regrets?" he asked. Natalie looked at the man who had seen her broken and loved her anyway. Who had shown her that second chances weren't about forgetting the past but about refusing to let it write the future. "Not a single one," she whispered. And she meant it. The wounds would always be there. The scars that shaped them. Elena's absence. David's betrayal. The guilt and grief they both carried. But love wasn't about being unmarked. It was about choosing to heal together. About finding someone who understood that broken didn't mean worthless. That starting over didn't mean starting perfect. It meant starting honest. Starting brave. Starting real. As they swayed to music under the stars, Natalie closed her eyes and felt gratitude wash over her. For the pain that had taught her strength. For the betrayal that had set her free. For the courage to risk her heart one more time on a man who was learning, just like her, that redemption wasn't a destination. It was a choice. Made every single day. To love. To trust. To believe. To begin again. The end.